Changes
And
angle there. Nice kick.
Here comes Jordan
come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, your boys are back again.
Australia's busiest Muay Thai podcast, dude.
You are. It's like you're going back to back.
Yeah, this is my second podcast episode in like 3 days. 2 days.
Catch you on the Muay Thai Hour podcast, yeah?
Yeah. Had a good chin wag, filling in for Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
So big shoes, obviously. But had a good chat with Kieran and Sire.
Oh, nice.
Actually, pretty good. It's not bad timing. Maybe I should always make 2 podcasts a week because like we actually had time to lead into the fights.
Okay.
That of this weekend. That obviously today by the time anyone hears this, they'll be over. But it is a big fighting weekend in Australia.
It is. All the good stuff, like all female card and Muay Thai League.
Yeah, that's massive. First one of those since Dynamite Naksu, I believe, with a couple of big fights. Kim Townsend versus Celeste for the world title.
Yep, and Nikita Wright versus Joanne La.
Yeah, promoting a show and fighting for the national title.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it, but I respect the hustle.
Exactly.
Then, of course, down in Victoria. Again, by the time you hear this, these fights will be over. But Jabba Askarov and Jonathan Iulu is a wicked fight.
That's a great fight.
Great fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll catch the replay.
Yeah, you'll hear us recap them next week. But good. Busy times in the Australian combat sports.
All right. So, but this week, we do have a guest.
I guess.
As well. So you can catch him. He's fought on such promotions as Thai Fight, Max Muay Thai, the Toyota Marathon Series, Eruption. He's a sponsored athlete by Rodriguez Records, Warriors of the Moncon, Optimum CBD. He's Jayy the Dingo Tonkin. How are you today, sir?
Oh, what's happening, boys? Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Great, mate.
I think this is quite a requested guest, actually.
Yeah.
The Jayy Tonkin appearance on the Combat Chat podcast.
And also, like when we ask for the questions, it's probably the biggest responsive questions that we got as well.
A polarizing figure in Australian Muay Thai. Jayy Tonkin.
You got to have your characters, man.
Yeah,
exactly. So look, Jay, this is your first time on it, so let's just go from here first. It's like, let's go, like, we'll take it in segments. Let's go into your background of, like, how did you get into Muay Thai? What was the beginning stages? And then after that, we'll chat about your fight career.
Yeah, pretty much just in school, just always angry, always fighting. Like, that was it. And then one of the boys showed me the Contender Asia series at school. We were just, like, in class on the laptop, just watching it, and seeing, like, John Wayne Parr, Bruce McPhee, Soren. And I was just, like, fell in love with it, I just seen, like, these guys are, like, eating breakfast the day they're going to fight each other. Like, you don't really have to be, like, a hard cunt to be a hard cunt. So they took me into the Muay Thai gym, which was Matchai Fairtex. It was his gym at the time. And just started, like, Thai training from day one, like, just pads, bags, sparring, clinching, like, no technique, just doing it. And I was wagging school, like, just to go to the gym and stuff like that. And then like 6 months later, like in July, my old man, we went for a trip to Thailand, 1 week training, 1 week holiday. Then we came back. Then I went back again and had my first fight and won by KO. And then, just kept going on from there. And then by the end of that year, my dad was ready to pack up, find himself a Thai wife. And he was like, do you want to come with me? It was only meant to be a year and it ended up being 7 years. So, yeah.
It's crazy.
And how old were you then?
When you 15, yeah.
15 years old.
Yeah.
And you were living the full training, fighting life once you got there, right?
Yeah, I had to. It was just like John Wayne Parr. I just knew I had to do it.
Yeah.
Fighting these killers, like, who were actually trying to put food on the table. I'm a boy from Manly, I was just thought I was bad and thought I was cool. And then, I just had to really put myself in that mindset and put myself through the struggle and just everything just to, be able to compete with them.
Crazy. Not a journey that many, especially at that age, that many Australian fighters kind of get to live. You did stints out of a couple of major camps in the time that you were in Thailand and made quite a name for yourself. So which gym was the first stop when you were over there?
So I started at Simbi because that's where we were going when we had our little holidays. We just thought Simbi, that's it. Rawai, the area, like, that's it. And after, like, I think it was like 6 months there, Phuket Top Team had a sponsorship on offer. So I just threw in my resume and straight away, like, Boyd Clark, the owner, he got back to me. And then that was my first sponsorship. And that's pretty much when it just, like, started for me. Like, had real good Thai trainers like Non Sai and Lam Dong, and yeah, just skyrocketed from there pretty much.
So like going from 15 years old to like your first fight and like, you know, just getting pretty much thrown in the deep end of it all from there. Did you find out things about yourself while you're doing, like, you know, you had, you know, you thought you're back here like the bad boy and whatnot, but over there, what was the actual experience on your own kind of psyche, like getting put through the ringer a little bit?
Oh yeah, it changed everything, you know, like I was doing everything I could back here just to rebel, whether it was just going to Coles and just stealing a whole bag full of stuff and giving it to the older boys and just anything, just getting them fights, just tagging, like just doing it all, just, I don't know, just rebelling, and then go over to Thailand and like just stuff like being in the markets and everything's open where it's just easier to kind of take things and do this and do that. And I don't know, I just stopped everything, just totally changed. And obviously just getting humbled in the gym, getting my neck pulled down to the ground by some little Thai kids. Just stuff like that, just realizing, yeah, I'm not like that hard person I thought I was, you know. So it was good,
like,
eye-opening.
Like, yeah, it was like it might have been like a saving grace almost.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so that time period that you spent in Thailand, like, so how many fights did you rack up? Where did you fight? How was the experiences there?
I'd say in Thailand, I racked up close to 40, probably like around 38 or some fights there. I did about, I'd say eight or so fights in like Bangla Stadium. And then I went to like, just doing heaps of village fights when I was with the Pinto brothers and stuff. And then I got up to, I think it was my 10th fight or something was on Thai Fight. And then like after that, it was just pretty much every fight I went, it was like on TV. So yeah, it's fighting like big names, it's straight into the deep end.
And when you were kind of starting out, because you were young and I suppose were still even really quite new to Thai boxing in general, did you have an understanding of kind of the different, I feel like now, even just as outsiders looking in, people have a pretty good idea of the progression in Thailand. Like you've got your festival fights, and then you've got kind of your Bangla and your Patong Stadium kind of level, and then you've got the entertainment kind of shows like your Thai Fight and stuff like that where you fight big names. Did you have an understanding of, you know, different levels and progressing your way through? Was there a particular goal, or for you was it just they told you were fighting and you showed up somewhere and fought?
Oh, I knew, because I was just, you know, when you start Muay Thai, you're Muay Thai crazy, and I was there like in the motherland. I was copying everything the Thais did, eating just everything down to a T. So I knew, like, yeah, I had to do my little Bangla circuit, and I just wanted to get out of there. Yeah. And then it was had a few village fights and stuff like that, like real, because you didn't want to get used to like just fighting at the same place, you know. Just you kind of just got used to it at Bangla, knowing what to expect, and then doing the village fights, and you're out in the middle of nowhere, and the canvas is like this, and you're getting ready on the floor, like in the dirt, like that. That's real good. And then boom, straight into like the TV fight. So I did know, but I just wanted to go up as quick as I can. Like I was in a rush, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you're in kind of a different spot going over there, in that a lot of the time people who go and spend some time in Thailand, they've kind of already established themselves, or they've got some experience in Australia and they go over there. But for you were actually really progressing from the ground up. Like there was value in going to I mean, like Thailand, of course, doesn't have amateur fights, but there's that progression through the kind of festival stage and stuff like that. So was it a matter of just getting as much experience as possible for you over there?
Yeah, it was just getting as much experience as I could until I was pretty much ready to fight on them shows that like Toby Smith was fighting on over there and stuff, like Victor Nagbe, seeing them fight on Toyota Marathon, and it was like next year I've got to be on this, you know. So that was pretty much it for me. Yeah.
And you've mentioned over the course of kind of telling your story already, like I know you're well connected in the Muay Thai community. You're quite a big name. You mentioned kind of Toby and Victor and the Pintos. And what was it like being kind of a foreign fighter in Thailand? Did you find you had to seek out that kind of community of other people doing the same thing? And did it make it easier to find people to relate to, or do you kind of just cross paths with people on the way?
Yeah, you kind of just cross paths, to be honest, because I might be in Phuket or Pattaya or some little village training, or the other person's in Bangkok, and you kind of just watching on. Like Instagram just kind of became a thing, and you're just kind of just watching on, and they're fighting on the TV. Like Siam Fight News was always like posting who's fighting, this and that. It was only if you really trained together and like were kind of in the fight team together where you really got to use that. So that's why, like with the Pinto brothers, it was big because they didn't have outside training people coming in. It was just strictly fighters. So everyone who was training there had to fight. And still to this day, like I've never learned so much, but from the Pinto brothers, like they told me everything to expect being a foreigner fighting in Thailand, and everything happened even like double time. So.
Yeah, and then that's an interesting point that you make. It can be something quite difficult to navigate, being especially a young foreign fighter. Yeah, if you would kind of explain a little bit, because you mentioned you learned a lot from the Pinto brothers, but I get the feeling that you're not just learning about the actual sport, about the punching and the kicking, but maybe the politics and the potential difficulties of what was that like, kind of trying to find your way?
Well, yeah, a big thing was first I could, you go to Thailand, they don't really speak the best English. You kind of like watching to learn. With them, they could just explain it to me down to a T. Yeah. And then same as about the politics, me and my dad have come to Thailand, like everything's amazing. It's a land of smiles. It's this, it's that. And then they've kind of just like grounded us and be like, no, like told us really what's going on with them, with their Thai fight contracts, and this promoter's no good because he's done this to us, and just hearing all the stories that have personally happened to them. But then also saying they've talked about someone like maybe like Sasan, I don't know if you know him, but then they're still working with him to get me fights.
Yeah.
But they would never let him work to get them fights, like they don't want, like, but then still going through him to get me fights. So it's a weird thing where, you might not like this guy, you don't want to work with this guy, but for your fighters and for other people, like you kind of need to.
So just providing that little like almost
keep your guard up,
barrier between you and.
There was crazy stuff, like they would be like, I'd leave my water somewhere at a fight night, like, and I'm fighting whether it's in the village, Toyota Marathon, Thai fight. And then they just be like, where's your water? Where's your water? And I'm like, oh, it's just over there. And they're like, keep it on you. And I'm like, yeah, all right. I'm like, why? Chill. And they're like, because, someone will drug you. They're like, someone will fuck you up. And I'm like, and they were being like legitimate about that. So it was just always like, keep my water tight to me, and just like little things and like big things, and just, it was crazy.
And I can imagine that's quite confronting as a young guy overseas to kind of be face to face with something like that. And you hear these things in stories, but to live it as a reality, it sounds scary to me. I've never done it.
So it was, they just kind of, it went from being like, oh, this is amazing, this is Muay Thai in Thailand, to like, they just grounded me like, hey, no, this is how it is. You got to keep your wits about you, or you're going to get, you're going to get left for dead pretty much.
Do you almost find as you stay the course and spend a little bit longer there, like that kind of layer, that holiday kind of layer just kind of falls away? And
quickly.
A realistic account?
Quickly. I remember it was like the first high season, and we were living in Phuket at the time. And me and my dad, we'd never been there for a high season. So we'd been there like April, July, and like September. Then we moved in December, and we just rocked up, and we're on the motorbikes. We're nearly getting smashed. It was like people everywhere, Russians, Chinese. And we're just looking at each other like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this isn't the paradise that. So it was pretty much like straight away almost. It was like, this isn't a holiday. And then I was just straight into training twice a day. I remember my dad used to, those mornings I wanted to sleep in, my dad used to kick my door down, just banging on the door. I didn't bring you to Thailand to sleep in. And just had to go to training and stuff like that. So,
Keeps you honest.
Yeah, it wasn't a holiday, it definitely wasn't a holiday.
And I know, like you mentioned, you spent time in various locations within Thailand, like starting in Phuket. I know you were in Pattaya for kind of an extended period as well, and then more rural areas. Was your dad going around with you?
Well, they're mainly like he would like when I went the Pintos. They were living between Phuket and Bangkok. That was the first kind of trip out of Phuket. He took me up there, and then I did a fight with them, and then came back to Phuket. They called me up and were like, "Oh, we got you a fight on Thai Fight against Singh Dum's brother, but you got to do the camp with us." And so Boyd wasn't too keen on it, but he was like, "Yeah, look, it's a fight on Thai Fight. They've gotten you that." The Pintos were on the Thai Fight team. They had all the power, and so I went up, did the camp, and then after the fight, they've offered me a sponsorship and kind of just poached me. And so then my dad was living in Phuket, and I was living with the bungalow with the gym with these guys for about a year and a half. Then he decided to move up there because Phuket was just too hectic for him, just too many foreigners, just too many people. Yeah. So but then as soon as he like moved there, bought a house there, boom, I was gone again. I was like, oh no, we tried doing our own thing in the same area because the Pintos went to they were opening up a gym in Bangkok, and they kind of had it in their heads about becoming like TV stars and stuff like that. And we had a bit of a falling out. We're all good now. I still talk to them and stuff, but it was just I was just trying to rack up as much experience as I can, just to kind of be where they are, and they had other goals as well. And so
Antoine can just make his living being handsome, right?
Mate, he's getting the dollars now. They're doing everything they said to me that they were going to do. So
good on him, eh?
Yeah, good on him.
Why jump in there and fight at the level that Antoine was fighting at?
Oh,
if you can,
pose
for a toothpaste brand or something.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Host a game show, or does he host a game show over there?
Oh, mate, he's on everything. He's in those, those soap operas and stuff. Like, he's doing it all. He's done really well. Both of them. I think Leo's still got the fight in him. He still wants to. I talk to him pretty regularly, but he's still got the fight with him in him. He still wants to fight.
Yeah, fighting in one championship. He is.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So like, while we're still on the Thailand tip, there was like one question here from Omar. Might have answered a little bit, but I can expand a little bit more. Like, it's really like, it's like most of what always the young fellas were asked. What advice would you give young fighters who want to go to Thailand? Like, you talked about your experiences. Would there be anything that would you change, or how would you, if a young fella came up to you, like, what would you tell them straight off the bat? Like, if you're going to go to Thailand for a long time, how would you approach it?
I think like when I was going over when I was young, and when you're young as well, you get set like, I'm going to this one gym, I'm going to this one place, and everything's going to be fine. That's not going to happen. Like, I hope it does, like everyone hopes it does, but you got to not be scared to kind of move around and to get better opportunities, and also to take care of yourself. If you're just training at one place, grinding away, nothing's happening, they're not looking after you, they're not looking out for you, then you got to move around and try different gyms, and not just fall straight into it and be like, oh, this is my family. Because I've made that mistake many times, and it's just not the reality of it. That would be like my number one advice for going over, training by yourself and stuff like that. Is just don't be set in training in like one place, one gym. Be open to moving around if you have to.
With that, do you think it comes with, I suppose, an idea of don't feel like you need to have loyalty to somewhere, or not? I mean, maybe some loyalty is fine, but do you think people get too attached to the idea that maybe they owe something to these places they go and train and aren't thinking about it?
For sure, and because a lot of these places make you feel that way anyway, and that's just the sport itself. It's just kind of ingrained in the sport. But like you got to look out for yourself. Loyalty only goes so far. They're not being loyal back to you as well. And when you're thinking about it every day, and it starts to kind of fill you up, and it's toxic, and it's affecting your training, your mood, your life, then that's when you've got to step back, and you just have to.
I think that's kind of something that I guess is different in Muay Thai to other sports, in that, like, I mean, we've had similar conversations with trainers that maybe the Thai fighters aren't always thinking like professional athletes when it comes to who they align themselves to and kind of, the power balance, and getting the best outcomes. Do you think that's kind of a problem that young fighters who go over to quote unquote live the dream, they kind of are a little bit maybe not self-centered enough, not selfish enough with how they work towards their own goals?
Yeah, I think for sure, especially when I think a lot of them maybe go over and they're with a gym sort of family here, and maybe that gym's got a connection with the gym over there, or a certain Thai trainer, and it's like you got to go train with him, and that can like tie them down. And it's a selfish sport. It's just the way it is. And at the end of the day, you're the one fighting. Your trainer can't fight for you. No one can fight for you. So you've got to make sure that it's all 100% up here. So that
and do you think it took you some time over there to figure this out? Like when you look back on your time, do you think maybe you were a little bit in the other way of thinking? Like, is this something you kind of learned by doing, or were you kind of always switched on in this way?
Oh, I mean, I was always switched on in this way, but I felt bad, when I would be leaving gyms and stuff. But what it was for me, the gauge for me was I was fighting all the time. So I was pretty much fighting every month, every 6 weeks if I wasn't. So if I'm fighting and I go 3 fights losing, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And also it can come down to just the training. Everything else can be great, but then I'm doing 15-kilometer runs every morning, then 2 hours of training, and then rest, and then I'm doing an hour of CrossFit in the day, and then I'm going straight to a 6K run on a treadmill, and then another 2 hours of training, 100 kicks each side every morning, every afternoon. Like it's just, so, and I'm just getting sick all the time. Then it comes getting injured all the time, getting sick. So there's so many factors as well. But I think the training over there has changed a bit in that they're a bit smarter with how they approach it now.
Yeah.
I guess it's that sometimes instead of, you don't want to be too much in that kind of cookie cutter kind of model, especially like I said, everyone's like be able to train differently and handle different training loads and whatnot. And sometimes you just, like you said, like you just gotta have that own personal program that works for you, because it doesn't work, it might not work for anyone else.
Exactly.
And while we're on this, I'm always curious to get this take from fighters like you that have spent a lot of time there. In the past, kind of the idea in sort of probably generations before us, it was very much like, if you really want to make it, you got to go over and spend time in Thailand. Like it was like, if you're serious about this, go over to Thailand long term. And that's a mentality that still passed on from trainers to students. Like if you want to make it happen, it's non-negotiable. You spend time in Thailand. With the way that the sport's developed in Australia, especially now that you are training full time here and you back getting fighting regularly and stuff like that, do you think a young fighter has to go to Thailand for a medium to extended period of time, or do you think we've got what we need here and fighters can achieve that level?
Yeah, well, I think especially after with COVID, just that in general, that how everything's kind of changed. I don't think fighters have to go. I honestly don't think so. I think Australian Muay Thai is it's a really good spot right now. I was at Rise Championships the other week, and a bunch of the undercard was, a bunch of young kids fighting, like 43 kilos, 39 kilos. And it was just took me back to being like when I was 15 in Thailand, watching the Thai kids fight, like technique down to a T. Like they know the scoring, they know how to clinch. I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I was just like, these guys, like the next generation are going to be killers. It's good to see. So I don't think they have to. I think do a trip, and if you can, get a fight. But it is hard when you don't know anyone over there, because you can get mucked around and end up on a fight on Thai fight you might not be really ready for, or something like that. Just because you want to do it, you want to fight a big name. It's better if you know someone. Maybe I don't think it's mandatory anymore though. Honestly,
and we see this time and time again, right? People just like getting used as cannon fodder on Thai fight. You see it every Thai fight show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's kind of what the whole show is made for, right?
Yeah, that's what the whole show is about. Yeah, it's foreigners getting smashed. Like they love it. They don't want to see the Thais lose. And that was another thing with fighting over there. It was just like you knew you had to kind of really try and knock them out if you wanted to
Mm.
win. It wasn't until like Max Muay Thai really came with the even scoring, where you could actually beat a Thai on points. I've got to say that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Max kind of initiated a new era that we're seeing now, that kind of entertainment television that Super Champ is doing now as well.
Yeah.
Muay Hardcore too, that 3-round and action scoring, I guess it is notably different to what's done in the stadiums.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like back in the day, it was, especially with like young fighters, I wanted to fight a Lumpini, I wanted to fight a Rajadin, and I wanted to do all that. And then I was over there, and then I'm watching foreigners having their first fight at Lumpini, first fight at Rajadin, and like big fat guys and this and that, and I was just like lost my whole interest in it.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything.
Nah, I was just like, I'd rather
stadiums.
fight on TV on these shows against the big name fighters, just get more publicity. So
yeah, and that's the prevailing mentality now. Like, especially when people are going over for not necessarily to move there, but to do a run like a 3-month or get a couple of fights out. They're not really interested in the stadiums. Like, if the right opportunity comes up, they'll do it. But everyone wants to go and do Super Champ.
Oh, man. Who wants to do same day? Who wants to do same day weigh-in and get paid like what 3,000-4,000 baht, where you could do a fight on Super Champ and like weigh-in day before and you get like $1 grand and sweet, you can live on that over there, or 1,500 depending like who you are, and you're sweet. Even if you go for a holiday, it kind of pays your ticket, pays for the holiday, So definitely rather that.
Yeah, definitely. So going from there, from Thailand, and it brought you back to Australia. What's the motivation, like coming back to Australia, and when you came to Australia, what were your goals for fighting?
So I did 5 years in Thailand, and then I came back to Australia when I was about so I was like 20, and I just didn't really I just didn't really take it too seriously, and I was just training myself. Like I was running this action Muay Thai gym in the city in Sydney, and I was pretty much just running it as like head trainer and just doing it myself. I didn't really want to go to another gym. I didn't really want to. I just like was training myself for fights and stuff like that. Wasn't really taking it too seriously, and then I just realized I felt like I missed out on like all that partying and stuff. Although you can do it in Thailand, but I wasn't doing it like my mates were getting on it every weekend over here. Found out that I wasn't missing out on anything. Kind of just fell into a hole, and then I was like, "Got to get out of here." Back to Thailand for 2 years. So then I did Bangkok for 2 years, and then coming back this time was landed straight back into COVID. So I was just kind of like, "Damn!" And then I don't know. I just had a bad taste in my mouth in my last fight in Thailand, and I just unfollowed everything to do with Muay Thai. Everyone who was a Muay Thai fighter, and I was like, "I'm going to boxing." And during the whole COVID lockdown, I was just doing boxing for like 2 years, and then I was like, nah, you know what? And I saw boxing has heaps of politics. You got to have a big following, like a big name, and I'm like, nah, you know what? No one wants to fight each other in boxing. I've got unfinished business in Muay Thai. I want to become a world champ. I'll do that, and then I'll come back. You know what I mean? Come back as going to boxing as a world champ or something like that, instead of just going as I am now. And I feel like now my hands are proper. Like that's so it's just taking out everyone I can, getting as much exposure as I can in Australia and fight for the world title. I don't really care too much for like ONE FC and stuff now.
Yeah,
if that comes, it comes if they propose a good offer. But otherwise, I'd rather just get into doing my own shows and stuff. To be honest, yeah.
But there's a bit to get into there, and like a couple of kind of like questions we touched on before we started recording. But I'm interested to get your take on something that you mentioned there before we move on, is because you talk about kind of you were in Thailand from a very young age, doing the full-time fighter thing. You bounced around a couple of sponsorships, and then the way that coming back here, it was kind of, I guess, difficult to sort of follow the same path. And I guess like, as a 20-year-old guy, you didn't have the experiences that, a teenager, an 18, 19-year-old in Australia had. So was there a little bit of, I guess, like, let me just live a normal kid's life a little bit when you got back? Do you think that was what kind of got in the way of Muay Thai?
Oh, 100%, 100%. It was just, I was just going out, just partying and just doing all that, and actually hurting myself more when I go out, get blackout drunk, and my head on the wall, and fall over and stuff like that. I was just getting absolutely slaughtered, and it just really affected my Muay Thai and my mental well-being as well. But yeah, and then just fell in with the wrong people as well. Kind of everyone being like Dingo, yeah, Dingo. People I don't even know, but just like feeding me drugs and all that. Just like, yeah, we're partying with the Dingo. Just pretty much like that. Just being around the wrong people who just wanted me to run amok because they knew like I kind of would. And then getting out of Sydney was probably the best thing I did. For sure, 100%. Yeah, as soon as I left Sydney,
leaving Sydney,
that was 100% the reason. 100%, yeah, that was 100% the reason. Then went up to the Weird Sundays, 6 months, just kind of like lived a normal life for a bit, just worked, and then the WBC fight with Matt came up, and then I kind of just self-trained myself with that as well. I had this gym up there that's owned by Anton Zappa. He was a UFC fighter, and so it was like a lot of MMA and boxing guys, and they were helping me get ready. And like every weekend, bringing in heaps of boys, like 10 rounds of Shark Tank with me and stuff. But like a lot of it was just like I was just running on the pavement, just trying to get my lungs back, trying to get somewhat fit. But yeah.
So you mentioned also not necessarily interested in one champion. Look, we'll get into it. You got your goals. You want to chase down that WBC world title and then assess your options from there. You say not necessarily hung up on going to one championship. We put the call out for questions for this podcast, and everyone wants to know a couple of things actually, but probably the prevailing thing everyone wants to know is anyone who's kind of been following yourself would see that you put up some posts on social a couple of months ago to say that you had declined a contract offer with one championship, and there were a lot of questions. I think you were a bit deliberately mysterious about what was going on, but talk to us about that. So one championship came knocking, but it wasn't quite an offer that you were going to entertain. So what happened there? How much of that can you share?
Oh, I was kind of waiting for an opportunity like this to kind of let everyone know the go. So it was no secret. I was keen to get on one and fight on one, and I was posting about it regularly, tagging George Chattree, and he commented on one of my posts, me like knocking out a bunch of people, and then I was like, ooh, I feel he's seen me, so I feel. Then one of the promoters of one contacted me, kind of kept me waiting for like 4 days though, which already kind of pissed me off. Like, oh, I'll call you this day, I'll call you this day, call you this day. Never got the call. Ended up calling me like, I don't know, it was like 11 p.m, like midnight one night, and was like, all right, did you want to fight? It was March 11th, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, cool, got a yes. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, let me know. He was kind of like hesitant to say it, like I wouldn't want to do the fight. And he was like, Liam Nolan. I'm like, yep. And he's like, oh, that's 2 yeses. I'm like, sweet. And he's like, all right, well, I'll send this contract through. So I wasn't really keen on like a contract. I kind of knew what to expect talking to other fighters. And I've got a lot of friends who have been in and out of one, who are still in one, who have been offered contracts with one. So I wasn't like I was expecting anything great. The money wasn't like amazing when I got this contract. It was 25 pages. So I got this contract, kind of had to read through it, looked pretty sketchy. I sent it off to an attorney. They got back to me and was like, bro, you can't sign this. There's just, he was going on like, yeah, the money's shit. And I was like, I don't care about the money. I'll get the 50K bonus, whatever. I'll get heaps of mad sponsors. And he's like, well, you can't have any sponsors. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, like they will supply you sponsors. And I was like, or you can request for sponsors, and like they pretty much take the proceedings of it. And I was like, no, they can't do that. And he's like, well, no, they can. And then there was another like sneaky thing in there, like if I become one champion, the contract renews for another 2 years, same conditions, same money, which I'm going there to be one champion. Like, and in my head, I'm like, I beat Liam Nolan in that 77 kilo bracket in Muay Thai. The next fight is pretty likely to be for a world title. There's not many people in that division. You got Sinsamut, who's new.
Sinsamut versus you would be pretty good fight.
Yeah, and Nicky Holskin and John Wayne Parr. But Nicky Holskin and John Wayne Parr was all that was in that, I think, ever fought in the 77 kilo Muay Thai bracket. Like, so I'm just like, oh. And the money wasn't that good. Like, for MMA gloves, find the best in the world. Plus, they didn't have to fulfill the 6 fights over the 2 years.
That's the biggest worry, right? That you
that was a
contract and you're on the shelf. Yeah.
And plus, they gave me, it was they gave me 6 weeks notice. And so it was like they were rushing me. They were in my thing every day. Have you read the contract? You're doing this, you're doing that. So I just got this attorney to deal with it for me. And he just asked for one of the clauses to be changed. And he's like, nah, this can't, And then they were just non-negotiable. And I kind of was just like, I was just going to sign it anyway. I don't know, and I kind of just was going to sleep like one night. It was on my birthday actually, and I just kind of like almost had like a panic attack, like just imagining myself signing this contract, and I was just like, if I lose the fight, right, it's terrible for me. I know what's happened to the other Aussie fighters. You get shelved. I probably won't fight again till at least 6 months. If I win the fight, it's still bad. It's like, oh, I win the fight, I become one. I fight for the belt, one champion. I'll be the poorest one champion, like I'll be the poorest world champion in the world. And it's like, and then all this advertising they're doing for me and using my name, I'm getting nothing out of it. So I just kind of had like, I visualized myself like signing it, and I kind of almost like had a panic attack, and I was like, I can't sign this shit. Called up my attorney right now, like decline it. And then to post it, just for that was, I've seen a lot of people, I know a lot of people have got offered contracts and or been treated badly by one and just kept silent about it. And I was like, nah, you know what? Like, fuck it. I declined this contract with these guys, So it's like, that wasn't the dream, It wasn't the dream. That's a fact.
I was interested to hear that, it was actually sending the contract away to an attorney that kind of influenced the decision. Do you have an attorney that you work with on other matters? Did you have to go and source someone just specifically to read the contract?
I knew someone, so I got it, and I did tell them leading up that I was going to be receiving a contract. Yeah. So they were like, yeah, sweet, send it through, and it was 25 pages. It was, even I read through it. It's all pretty, like, there's some sneaky stuff, but then it's all pretty blatant and clear as well as to. It's not even like, a lot of it's not even hidden. It's just like, you just read it and you're like, oh, they can't do this. But if I sign it, they can. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
and it's just like, it's probably like a little bit sneaky, because like most fighters just go, oh, it's one, I have to sign and not read through it. And then once they get into it, then they go, oh, wow, I'm stuck.
A lot of it too is the trainers. So that gym I was at the time, I sent it through and I'm like, this ain't good, we're going to renegotiate. And then I don't even think they read it, because they were like, no, look, I reckon you should sign it. I think you should sign it. And I'm like, of course you do. Like, it's good for the gym. It's good for you. This is terrible for me, Like, I'm probably going to really jeopardize my career. Like, if I'm not happy in a promotion or something like that, like, how am I even going to perform? Like, so.
And that's a tricky one as well, right? Because you talk about what you basically, I think what you mentioned there is you basically sign away the rights to your name for the promotion to use in a way that they won't necessarily, that you won't necessarily
after death as well. Like, I'm dead, they could still use me, all my shit.
But for a gym, that's tangible. Like the name value that a gym that you represent would get, it's great for them. It is tangible. It gets members in the door, and so like the priorities are conflicting. Because the gym gets a kind of publicity that actually helps their bottom line. But for you, it's like you become the product and don't necessarily see the return.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. If it was sweet, if it was a good contract, even if just like the terms were like that, but it was a 20K purse or something. Yeah, all right, I'll take it. But it wasn't. It was just all, if I was to fight 3 times in a year, like actually get 3 fights in a year and then 3 fights the next year. So for 1 year, I would get, like in my pocket, after giving 20% to my trainer, after the Singaporean tax as well. Man, I'm probably only getting like $4,000 like a fight in my pocket. So like times that by 3, it's nothing. And then you don't really want to be
like, when does anyone actually get 3 in a year as well?
exactly. And then when exactly, and then when do like besides Rotang, there's no one. And then yeah, it's just like it's just real disheartening. So yeah, and like no one wants to work full time when they're training to fight like Nicky Holzkin and all these guys in MMA gloves. Like, let's be honest, like I don't want to be having to stress of having. You want to be able to kind of, and then I can't even have sponsors to help with that. So it was just like I wanted to sign up so bad. Don't get me wrong, but I couldn't. My gut was just like, you can't sign this, and then.
No, and I think it's good to see a fighter, you know, not just treating a one contract as just a cut and dry. They've given me an offer and so I sign. Because that's where we've seen people sort of get used and abused, is when there was never a thought process. It's like they didn't treat it as a partnership, which is what signing a contract should be between an athlete and a promotion. It was they kind of saw the one championship contract as a favor, an opportunity, which is not.
It's like a privilege.
A privilege. That's a good way to put it. I understand why that's the way that it is in Muay Thai, because the sport doesn't have the kind of infrastructure that other sports do. But it's not really the way that professional sports work. It's supposed to be cooperative. It's an agreement to an exchange of value. So I think I'm interested, but glad to hear that you actually got some professional eyes across the contract and really unpacked it rather than just skipping to page 25. And
and I've spoken to heaps of fighters, and I've known fighters that they've got a few contracts sitting in their inbox. So it's one of those things. I think with what you do with your career, they'll kind of come at you again, and then come at you again, and then so on. So I wouldn't say it's the end for one, but it's definitely left like a bad taste in my mouth. And I just really want to get things pumping here in Australia, like try and fight, headline all these shows, and just fight the best I can, make as much noise as I can. So if I want to also like do my own shows or whatnot, just make heaps of noise, so people don't need to have in their head like, oh, one championship's the only option, because that's what was going on in my head.
Yeah.
And then I got the contract, and then that was still going on in my head, like, oh, this is all shit. Everything's telling me not to sign it, but one's the only option. And then I was like, nah, you know what? There's other ways around this. I've just got to put the work in and just put my mind to it.
That's a good way to think, and it's a way to think that involves, you're backing yourself there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, that kind of leads into another good question. You've had a couple of fights back. Probably would have liked to have been busier, but there's been all this nonsense going on. But a couple of fights back on the bigger Queensland shows, Destiny, Eruption. Within Australia, what's kind of goals do you have to? Which shows do you want to be on? What's on the agenda?
Well, Eruption and Destiny, like I've fought on them both once, and it's been great. Like Paul DeMacaulay, Chris Johnson, like I work really well with them. I can just speak to them directly, and it's a good relationship there. And I just kind of want to go for like international WBC, defend my title, then international WBC, and then obviously the world title. There's definitely other good shows coming about, like Muay Thai League is another one I'm trying to dip my toes in, and
good show.
Stuff like that. So like just trying to just get on as many good shows as I can, and just take out everyone. And I think Hardcore is another one. So there's some stuff in the pipeline for sure. Like, so there's a lot to look forward to. I just need this year, just me and Jake Lund have really just teamed up, and we're just like, let's just take it on. He's come back. He's done his comeback. I've come back. I've done my comeback. It's like, let's just take them all on. Let's just take over,
And look, that's a pretty good lead in as well, because another one of the common questions that we see training footage on Instagram. It does appear to be you guys betting the shit out of each other in some regard. What's the story here? Are you guys training full time out of the garage?
100%. We are 100%. We are. It's just me and Jake were at the other gym before. It was kind of one of the big reasons that I actually came from Airlie Beach down to like Brisbane, Gold Coast area, was to train with Jake. Me and Jake go back, way back, like 2013. We met in Thailand, and saw each other another few times. We're always talking to each other, and I did my thing over there. He did the thing over here. Obviously, he's beaten everyone and 2-time world champion. And we had the similar thing happen, like where we just hated the sport. He was going to go to boxing as well, and then he just felt like he had unfinished business as well. And we've just come together now, and like fuck the gyms, fuck the politics, like just do our own thing. We're around some really good people, and we've got like trainers like Eddie Fata. He's from New Zealand. He used to run a bunch of fighters in New Zealand, and then we've got Andy Smith, Tristan McManus trained with us. Alulu's been coming through. Jonathan Alulu. So me and Jake, just to get through a session with Jake, I told him this last night. Like, just to get through a session with you is just like, for me, it's just boom, one big step. Just he goes hard. He's something that I feel like I may have like. I've got a lot to give him, I think, technically and stuff that I've learned in Thailand. But he's always been so straight on, discipline wise, and trained so hard, and just always had that like laser like focus where he's never once like kind of fucked up on a fight camp, never once done this, always backing himself. And so being like with that, just side by side with him, I'm just really taking it on, and it's something that it's changing my game as well. I feel like I'm going to be like the fittest and strongest I've ever been this year.
And so what does a training day look like? Whose garage is it?
Eddie's.
And what does a training day look like for you guys in there?
So we'll start. We pretty much just train like just in the afternoon, but it can be like 3 to 4.5 hours. It can so it really just depends on who's fighting.
Yeah.
So let's just say last night, for example, Tristan's fighting. Went for a run, went for like 5K run, come back. We did I think 5 rounds of shadow boxing. We do it with like a tennis ball here on the chin, so we can't pop our chin up. You drop the tennis ball, you got to do like 4 push-ups, 3 burpees for each drop, and then we do like 2 for 2 drills. So we put the shin pads on and the gloves, and it's not like bop and bop. You go with Jake, he's trying to knock you out, so you've actually got to try and block the shots. And then he hits me with a hard shot, and then I'm just going back, Jake, I'm trying to crack his leg. So it's 2 for 2. It's almost like a bit of that like kickboxing where you see where they drill each other, but they hit each other hard.
Yeah.
So we're doing that, and we'll do rounds and rounds and that. Like I swear we do like 15 rounds sometimes. Do rounds and rounds of that, and then you get gassed. And so then Tristan's fighting, and we're like, all right, we'll put him through a shark tank. So 5 3-minute rounds every 30 seconds. Like got someone switching up on him, and just going in. Just it's kind of like when you're doing the shark tank, like you're getting bashed, and then kind of like when it's the roles are reversed, you kind of get to give it back. So I did a shark tank last week, and Jake just came in, just for revenge, just came in trying to smash me. But it's good. It's just like you can't switch off, and it's just like leveling up heavy, just shark tanks and stuff like that. Then we're doing like shark tank clinches, and then obviously normal sparring as well, and then pads. So yeah, we're doing it all, just kind of doing our thing through the day. Whoever, we're just working, whatever. I prefer kind of working through the day. I just prefer doing that, and because I'm used to. I've been doing twice a day training my whole life. Like I feel like I got a lot more in me than to just train in the morning, nap in the day, and then train again, and kind of not really looking forward to that second session where I'm at work and I can't wait to go and train with the boys.
It's like stepping back to
say hello to everyone. It's just us boys there, and it's just like sweet. Let's get down to business.
It's funny that you say that. In that, it's kind of like the people that are here working their usual 9 to 5. They dream of that life of going to Thailand, but when you've never experienced it, as you say, like there's something to be said for that. I guess balance is that you've got an occupant, but you get to. It's not like you're drowning in Muay Thai all the time. It's like
exactly.
Training's a privilege, not something that you have to like put yourself through over and over.
Yeah. It's not like, I've got to go to training. It's like it turns into like I get to go train.
Yeah.
Rather than you do the morning session, you're already thrashed, and then you kind of rest through the day. You eat, and you're not really doing anything, and then you just the whole day just dreading the second session, especially if you're in fight camp. Like you're not meant to enjoy fight camp, and like that firsthand. So yeah, it's like for me, I prefer it. I've done the twice a day training all my life, man. So I'm sweet. I'm sweet working in the day, and so yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. So in that kind of training environment that you guys created there, like, awesome team, like a bunch of killers in there. Is there like a kind of coordinator role, or do you each kind of take a turn, or is it like pretty much like we just done, this is what we're gonna do every day, rinse and repeat? How that dynamic work?
It's pretty like free flowing. Like Eddie's kind of telling us what to do, running it, but if someone's in the spar and I'm yelling out stuff, Jake's yelling out. We're all coaching each other as well, which I enjoy coaching. It reminds me of techniques I want to use and stuff like this. So we're kind of all got our brains working. And then like for Jake's fight camp, I was really there just trying to make sure he just got those knees and clinches going. And then boom, and that's all he did in the fight was just knee the fuck out of this guy and just clinch. And and then he's bringing stuff to my game and just really tightening me up, and just certain areas I know I need to improve, and he's making sure. So it's good. Like we're all on each other's case, and it's good, man. Like Jonathan Lulu comes in, I'm telling him stuff. Like we helped him get prepped for Jabba's fight, which is tonight. So yeah, he's been through the Shark Tank. He's been through the ringer a bit, but I was trying to jump on him like I'm Jabba, just throw my punches, but he prevailed, man. So I think it'll be a real good fight tonight. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, Jonathan will come down. He's at All Styles primarily, of course. Are you doing any cross training? Do you pop into any other gyms, or it's all in the garage?
I haven't. Pretty much just been in the garage, and I've just started training strength conditioning at CMBT Training Center, which is with Eddie's friend Sam. So I was just doing really it's real like fight focus strength conditioning. So yeah, but so I'm cool with crossing over and stuff like that. Just think we've got the boys. I feel like we've got it's been the other way around. We've had a lot of people messaging us trying to come and train with us, and we've got to be real kind of, what do they bring to the table kind of thing. We want to let them in. So
that's an interesting question also, I suppose. Like, are people asking to drop in for kind of a one-off session, or do you have people contacting you like, I also want to train in the garage?
It's mainly that. Yeah, it's mainly that. And obviously we just want to, me and Jake, we think the same, and we all kind of do. We're just like careful with who we share energy with. So we have like group discussions, and we're just like, do we want this guy to come in? What can he offer to the table? And everyone's kind of got to have the bare minimum, like be able to hold good pads and be able to spar. We've got boxers and MMA fighters that come through, but they all know how to clinch, and they all know how to obviously Shark Tank. It's very good hands and hold pads and stuff. So yeah, it's just that really. We just don't want to kind of.
You know what you need? Tryouts.
Try
out. Run them through like the hell, and then you have to fight each other each round. And we're gonna take the best one at the end.
Yeah, Eddie calls it anger management. Anger management therapy. It's just like we just come in and we just you're just all so angry. We just go in there. We just I don't know what his neighbors think, man, but we're going off in there. It's good fun. It's just I think as well. That kind of ghetto vibe almost, just like ignites that flame as well. I've trained it. Yeah, you know how it can be in Thailand with the training conditions there. And some like the worst place I've ever trained is aka Thailand, which is actually the best gym in probably Thailand.
Very nice facility.
Facility wise, and the MMA training there, I can't say that's good, but the Muay Thai was just like I was allowed to do what I wanted. I was 19 and I could rock up to training high. Like they didn't care. There was no just I needed that discipline there, and I'm going out with like Mike Swick. He's taking me out like a week before my fights out in Patong, like partying and getting me on the piss, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun, but I'm losing fights. So
fun, but not that productive.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, you make an interesting point as well. This is something I've heard. You talk about like people want to come train, but being in like controlling the situation yourselves means experienced guys like you and Jake can be like, do I want to train with this person? And you can bring them in if you want to, or you can say, no, thanks. I've heard in kind of the other combat sports where you actually make money, it's becoming more of a thing for like, say UFC guys will often be like, I'm going to start my own not necessarily gym, but I'm going to set up a space and do my own camp and just have these 5 guys around because I know I can trust them and I know that there's going to have that. And also getting that. It's interesting. We're in a funny spot in Thai boxing in that even when you're a high-level professional, you exist within a larger gym and in kind of a class. And like there aren't other, and you see boxing's the best example because they have the most money. Boxers don't train within a class of 20 people because the needs are very specialized. Like 20 pro fighters don't need the same thing on the same day, and they need that freedom to, even sometimes what I hear a lot from the MMA guys now is like, they feel the difference is I think the model in MMA is moving away from like your super camps. Like you're seeing a lot of, like for a while it was like your American top teams and stuff like that were a thing. And now the big name guys are starting to do their own little
look
camps.
At Volkanovski and Whitaker.
Exactly.
Great examples.
Exactly.
Is that kind of the vibe that you find? Like it's having that control where you don't have to kind of be one of a larger class or a larger all under one trainer. You guys want that smaller kind of more and that bit more control where you can draw from your own experience.
100%. You know, like the only time I've really hurt myself is sparring or clinching with someone I shouldn't be working with. There shouldn't even be, like, no offense, but there shouldn't even be next to me in the gym. Like there should be a massive space around me. Like they shouldn't even. Yeah, that's I think like that's a like real common thing. Like what's wrong with the sport? It's like they're all just training together, and you need to be separate. You just have to be. It's mandatory.
Yeah, and I think some gyms do it better than others, but most common mistakes I see in a gym with a lot of people is not understanding how to manage it. And to me, the longer I spend in the sport, it's not just about having fighters and non-fighters. There's levels within the fighters. You know what I mean? Like if you've got a couple of guys that have had dozens and dozens of fights, they probably don't need to spend, like there's a benefit to your new guys. You know, there's times when you can step back a little bit and do them a favor, but like there's not always an understanding that it is doing them a favor, not training. Like, you know what I mean? Like a fight can't be on, and it's like, I always draw the parallels to other sports. Like, you know, you don't have like I mean, any sport can be the example. A professional NRL player doesn't just run on the field with, you know, the local A grade. Why? Because that's just the difference in level. But we don't have those separations in combat sports in general. I think it's a thing, but in like Muay Thai especially, because for obvious reasons, right? Like people don't make enough money to build their own camps, and you know.
Yeah, exactly right.
But let's get on to another fun one, because I am keen to hear kind of your take on this. Again, a lot of people ask this question. What I find in Muay Thai is one of the problems that we have is not a lot of fights that people genuinely care about. And that's for a couple of reasons that we get into a lot. But one that seems to have people talking a lot is a potential matchup between yourself and a gentleman who I know you've done quite a bit of training with, David Penpede from Muay Thai. What's your thoughts on that match? And what? Okay, look, we'll take it one at a time. So, what's your thoughts on that match?
Oh yeah, it's sick. I mean, me and David mates, done heaps of training together at Sichuan and stuff. Heaps of sparring, clinching. Got him ready for helped get him ready for like a fair few fights. Good guy. He was fighting at 76, I think, even maybe 79 back then. Between the two. I was fighting at 70. So, but now, he seems to be coming down to 74. I actually did hit up promoters because I saw I don't know, I think it was the end of the year, or maybe the start of the year. Someone sent one of his stories saying oh, I want to, who should I fight next? Someone said Jayy Tonkin. He said it was a fight he really wanted. And I'm over here people struggling to find me opponents. So I've just told people, I'm like, look, I'm willing to fight David at 74. And they're all like, oh yeah, okay, sweet. Wait, I'll try and get onto that. And hopefully, it seems like it'll eventuate. I think that's just a really good fight for Muay Thai.
Great fight,
that we need. I think it'll be technical, it'll be a war, it'll be everything. And I think it'll be good to see as well, because we did a lot of training kind of a few years ago, and he's gone off and done his own thing, and then I've gone off and I went back to Thailand, and then I've come back here and done boxing, and then I've moved around, had like 2 comeback fights, sort of felt where I'm at, and yeah, I think he seems to be able, because I think I saw him weigh in at 73.3 kilos when he fought Yusuf.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, he's coming down a weight. Maybe there's someone I can defend my title against. So,
well, I can confirm, like you said, he was a national title holder at light heavyweight at almost 80, but he's a lot smaller now. His body composition's changed a lot. He's leaned out, and they were kind of testing the waters to see if middleweight was feasible, and of course weighed in well under that 74 kilo catch weight. So they're going to pursue middleweight. So I can imagine the goal there is to take the national title. So I think that's the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's on. I've been told after the Instagram antics the other day. I've heard I've heard it's been on. Just promoters are telling me like they were kind of giving up on it, saying that Kieran Davis trainer was just taking a while to get back to them, and then they were saying about getting someone in New Zealand. The other promoter was saying get someone in Italy. And I was just like, yeah. So WBC champion Italy.
Interesting.
But, so and then someone sent me the story. It was the same thing. Like, who do you want me to fight next? Someone said Jayy Tonkin. He's like, that's the fight I want. So I was just kind of like, well, what's going on here? Like, let's just get the fight on, because like my life's kind of doesn't have much meaning if I don't have a fight to train for. So just get it on. Yeah.
And like, would you kind of foresee that fight being up in Queensland? Would you come to New South Wales for it if someone was going to put it on? Do you have a preference?
I see it happening in Queensland, but I don't. As long as the money's good and it's all good to go, then I fight anyway. So no worries.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I had to guess, I'd probably. I mean, like if I had to put a bet on it, I'd imagine Queensland getting it done, just because of the shows and all that. But it'd be cool to see it in. I mean, I think like it's you guys are a good pairing in that. I think the ticket selling appeal is quite similar across both New South Wales and Queensland.
He's fought heaps in Queensland. He's got a name here. I've fought more in Queensland than I have in Sydney anyway.
Yeah,
so,
but of course, him being a Canberra boy, they're always on the an adopted Canberra boy anyway. They're always on the Sydney shows, and also like I know if you guys fought on a Melbourne show, people would be interested, and that's like we talk about. It's one of those fights that like it just gets people's interest as fans of Muay Thai. I'd like to see it. I mean, forward to seeing it. I'm sure it will happen.
So you mentioned it a couple of times already that it seems you're pretty keen to do your own thing in terms of like promoting shows. How much a lot of thought have you?
Oh, I've been thinking about it for a while, to be honest. Like I've just been thinking about it just thinking, oh man, especially after the whole 1FC thing, I was just like, man, how am I going to come out from this? And I was just like, I think I just want to build my name more than just start promoting my own shows, even still fight. Kind of like what Nakia Wright's doing. She's just like done this Muay Thai league and then she's fighting on it. Put myself and headline, myself with someone, put Jake on the card, Tristan, Lulu. Boom, sweet.
Good lineup.
Exactly, yeah. So I put like I am actually kind of like like heading towards that way for sure. I think it's just an option, and I just want to make a good show for like fighters to want to fight on as well and be looked after, and stuff like that. Just from my past experiences and all that. Just
Yeah, you seem definitely like a man that likes to be firmly a hold of his own destiny.
Yeah, for sure. I just always kind of got it from my old man. He's a businessman. He's always been the boss. So I just feel like I'm always better when I'm my own boss. I'm making the decisions and stuff. And when I'm waiting on other people or hoping, it just always seems to go to shit. So I've just now it's like don't let anyone come in and interfere. No, but background noise. Just me going for it.
Well, look, that's it's an interesting comment to make, and there's probably different kind of angles you can take it from it. That you feel like you've done your best work when you're your own boss. And like, look, what I want to ask is like, and I know this is kind of a question that comes through a little bit. Of course, since you've been back in Australia specifically, you've moved around a fair bit, right? You've been at a number of gyms, especially in the time that you're in New South Wales. Is that an element of, you're not settling for the environment that you see as being wrong? Is it a matter of not having enough control? Like, kind of what was sort of leading to you feeling the need to move around, even like a number of gyms just within Sydney?
It's pretty much just always been down to, can I see myself achieving what I want to achieve with this gym, with these people? Can I see it? And if I'm asking myself that question every day and I can't see it, and it becomes toxic, and most of the time I even feel like I stay at these gyms too long because I do feel bad. I'm like, no, it's just my head. It's just my head. And then it's like, it's my gut, and it always ends up being right. Something always happens, or I move on myself because I've got standards for myself and goals for myself. And if I don't feel like the people around me are going to help me or even be there for when I am there, like when I imagine it, then there's just, that's it. Eh? That's it for me. That's got to go. Got to do what I got to do.
And is there something in particular or that you see as the sign or the red flag that says this is probably not the place for me?
Oh, I mean, it can be a whole bunch of things. It can just be the people just around it. It can be sort of maybe how they're treating me, whether they do it like knowingly do it or just kind of, I guess, subconsciously doing it. How people run a business, how people want to manage, how people want to talk to promoters. It just can come down to just everything, and usually it comes down to me. It's like, well, do I need them? And then most of the time it's like, no, so I can do it myself. And if the jobs that I've been doing myself aren't getting done, or just are failing, or aren't getting done the way I want it, then what's the point? I'll just do it myself.
And is there ever a worry of kind of burning bridges? And of course, if you move gyms a couple of times, I mean, the reality is like there are very few, kind of like amicable gym departures, right? People take things personally, and it generally ends up being, I'm sure it's different stories across different gyms, but sometimes it becomes a bit of a drama. Sometimes it's cool and smooth. Like, do you worry when you're leaving gyms about kind of the fallout of it, or is it something that you've just got to kind of block out and go, it's right for you?
For sure. That's the main thing. That's the main thing that will hold me at a gym for longer than I feel like I should be there. Is I don't want to burn bridges. And sometimes then you also, like, it doesn't matter how you're going to come across as I'm going to leave or whatnot. You just know it's going to be a drama, and it's going to be a big thing. Or some people, it's going to be all good. They're going to still be a friend, and they're going to understand. And I've even been kicked out of gyms before. So there's whole different, there's heaps of different scenarios, but that's the main one. Yeah. Like, if I know someone's going to take it, whether it's the wrong way or not, it's just, they're going to take it bad. Like that plays in my head a lot. And I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want to burn friendships. And sadly it has happened and does because I've got to look out for number one, and that's me.
It's like at the moment now that when you and Jake Lund got together, it seems like more of a perfect environment where sometimes, like in the gym scene, like you said, like, gym owners go like in head coach classes, other fighters on board have to pay the bills and whatnot. But at the moment, from there, in this kind of situation, it's just fighters together. They all got that common goal. Nothing outside. You're not worried about They're not worried about building a gym and whatnot. It's just more so you're just getting together, get the fights lined up, knock it over.
Exactly. That's pretty much exactly what it is. So we're just like, that's it. Just train and fight. Just build each other. Like Jake's just come out of fight camp. He's straight into training again because Tristan's got to fight. It's just keeping that consistency of and then after Tristan, like, hopefully I'll go into fight camp and get this fight confirmed. But so.
And that's like very interesting insight. And look, and I appreciate you being candid about moving gyms and stuff like that, and not kind of I guess skirting the question, because I think people are interesting, and it's good to hear sort of your logic on that. But like, I'll ask you a more fun one now. You've obviously fought a lot of really high level guys all over the world, and we've touched a little bit on sort of who's on your list in Australia. We want to see the David fight. We know the James rematch is something that'll come together when it comes together. Globally, we touched on Liam Nolan as well. Is there anyone else that's really at the top of your list of desired opponents?
Globally, I mean, it's hard to say because I'm just like got my head really focused on this Australian circuit right now. I'd love to fight some big name Thais again. In that weight bracket, like even if I just fly over to Thailand and get a fight on Thai fight and fight like a Chanachon or something like that, I'd love to do that because I really, like I was trying to get that fight when I was over there. So they're a bit picky and choosy now, the Thais, I think, because it's not like the old days where fight Falang is easy. It's hard now. The Falang puts in the work. So yeah.
Is Chanachon still fighting?
I'm not sure.
I think he's been a bit quiet recently.
But yeah, Liam Nolan's definitely up on the list. He's obviously signed with one. We're gonna fight in August. Obviously, ONE FC was trying to steal that fight. They gave me 6 weeks to do the Liam Nolan. I mean, I wish they kind of just offered me the fight, no contract, because then we'd be talking about the fight right now. But I think that's definitely a good one. But what's that? Victor Hugo, I think he's in the rankings as well.
Yeah,
in Brazil. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of guys that are definitely like above or below me in the rank. Like I'm number 14. There's a lot of guys I think like top 10. Like I'm better than. Like I've just I haven't been active obviously like for those years, but even just the circuit of fighters we have here, like I made my comeback, had a really hard first fight with James Honey. He was real active. He fought 5 weeks before I fought him. He beat Nick Trask. He was on a roll of like 5 fights, and then I fought Matt Webb, who beat Honey quite comfortably. So I kind of had to make a statement there, like that was my comeback fight. Took out Webb, and then I think you got to look at the caliber of fighters. They're 2 really strong fighters in Australia. They were the top 2. And I think guys are fighting over in, like the UK and stuff and wherever, and they're kind of just fighting, not the best guys, but they're getting pushed up in those rankings, and I think it's obviously a lot to do with like who as well. But I expect I'm just trying to climb those rankings and just do everything I can to get to the WBC world title. I would love a fight with Yusuf as well.
And
I didn't know that.
Did you catch David and Yusuf the other week?
No, I didn't catch the fight. I seen the highlights, but I mean, I didn't hear a word about that Yusuf was coming down. I would have been happy to. I was almost a bit pissed off because like 72.5 he fights at. That's my weight.
Yeah,
I felt like I'm one of the guys here that would have beaten him and potentially like knocked him out. But no, David put on a good fight. Definitely represented Australia well, but it was 74 kilos. I was just like, I don't know. I get asked for the fight, but it's all good. Hopefully down the track, I don't know what Yusuf's doing, but yeah.
Well, I think Yusuf's going to MMA.
That's what I was saying as well. So I was a bit gutted because I've wanted to fight Yusuf for a while. Yeah.
And like I know like sort of 72.5 is your title weight these days. In the past, more like the 69, but like you're a big guy. Is 72.5 like your obviously sometimes you have to go to a weight that's maybe not ideal for you, to line up with the weight class. Like if you made the rules, would that be your perfect weight? Would more 74 kind of be your thing?
Or like right now I'm weighing 78. I'm waking up 78 in the morning. Yep. So like I could make 74 tonight easy.
Yep.
I'm not concerned with fighting at 74. I was fighting at 74 in Thailand because I didn't want to. My whole mindset was the Thais aren't cutting much weight. Why should I? So I was just like, I'll just fight at 74. And I was come back. Honey couldn't get down to 72.5. I got offered that at 74. Yep, sweet, took that. But then I had in my head, I'll fight at 74. I'll fight at 74. then Chris Johnson called me up one day and he's like 72.5 for the title. And I was like, damn. I was like, yeah, sweet. Just kind of got my diet on point, and it was easy to make. It was actually easier to make that, funny enough, than the 74 with honey. Just kind of. But the problem with 74 is it's not a weight. It's not a weight division.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. There's no. I fight a 74. I don't proceed in those 72 kilo rankings.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like I'm happy to fight David at 74, but obviously if he wants to fight for the title, then it's got to be a middleweight. And then obviously I want to climb those rankings and just do the steps I've got to do to get that world title. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. I think it's like coming towards the end of the time there. It's good talk.
Yeah, it's good.
How about just like, just parting, just like some words of advice to, like, the younger fighters that look up to you and that, and like, and then same thing, like, just let know Jayy Tonkin's ready to take everyone.
To the younger fighters, I get heaps of young boys like in my inbox on Instagram and stuff, and like they're good to talk to. I really like talking to them all and stuff like that, and I say they really look up to me and all that. If I had to say something, it's train hard, stay in the gym, and just stay away from all this partying, all this girls, all this drugs, all this background noise, all this outside noise. It's nothing. You're not missing out on anything. The best thing I did about being in Thailand is I was away from it all. Of course, I wasn't around my friends from high school, and they were kind of all, I guess, threw their hopes and dreams away. Like, it's not going to be an easy sport. You've just got to keep going. You just can't give up. Like, I think a lot of people, if they went through what I went through in this sport, they would quit a long time ago. And I've tried quitting, but I keep coming back. I've always wanted to be a world champion, and I know what I can achieve in this sport. And it's just, you just don't give up. Just can't quit. Just stay focused. Stay away from all that stuff. Will come later. If you make it, just stay focused. Just stay away from all the other shit. Just stay in the gym and listen to your trainers, and just look out for yourself. Look out for number one, and that's you. And any of the young fighters want to hit me up, any advice, feel free to message me. I'm always there. So yeah.
Nice. What's your Instagram? Where can I find you on the socials?
Jayy Tonkin, Jayy Tonkin, Tonkin.
Awesome, mate. Great. Look, man, we really appreciate you spending some time with us talking today. It was an awesome conversation.
Yeah, sick. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Like, once you have like a more solid fight going, we'll probably have to book you back on, mate.
Yeah, sweet. No, came for that. Still got plenty to talk about. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Thanks for having me, guys.
That's all good. We'll do the hang around after we sign off here as well. But for everyone else, thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify as well, Apple Podcast. And until next time, gotcha.
See ya.